fundamental thing is that what is the business about? Any business, whether it's martial art or dentistry in my case, and it's about customer satisfaction.
Welcome to the 9 to 5. My name is Evan Turner, and I'm here with Mr. Amar Singh. He's actually the owner, founder, CEO of Clove Dental in India, with now over
300 clinics.
300 clinics. 301 coming
on January 28, 2019.
So just a couple weeks, really.
Right.
So thank you, sir, for having the time to meet with me. Just a quick backstory. Through martial arts, I was able to meet Mr. Singh back in Portugal when I was there doing seminars and competing. And he was on stage dancing like a bad man.
I was there with my family, supporting them. So that's
he was there enjoying, having a great time. I was able to go to India.
Yes.
You actually brought me around to your office, and I got to see the headquarters.
Yeah.
Me and my wife actually went and got some fillings and cleaning, and my wife had 7 fillings to get done. I had 0. Just make sure that's on the camera.
I don't think that's a good idea.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. I'll deal with it later. And then you were able to come to Jersey. You were able to come to my school and see my business, and now we're here visiting for the holidays with you in New York. So, quick backstory, but really, I wanted to go back and talk to somebody who has, in the entrepreneur space, has been successful and has not only ran one successful practice, but is now multiple. Mm-hmm. But as I started this channel, I started off with, what was the dream job?
Right. So when I was a kid, actually, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I wanted to join the Indian Air Force. I was living in India. Unfortunately, I actually ended up going to a military school for about a year, but then realized it was too tough, and then instead chose to become an engineer. And which, after becoming an engineer, went to business school, got a business degree. I was lucky enough to go to Harvard and get accepted there. Went to business school. And then after that, I ended up, doing some startups in the technology space. And then about 6 years ago, moved to India and come back, after 30 years, to India, and decided I was going to do something in the healthcare space. And
with no healthcare background.
No healthcare background. And, the joke was, people told me, hey, Amar, you're going to move to India after 30 years. What are you going to do? Because, working in India is like pulling teeth. I'm
yes.
Like, great idea. So I got into that pulling teeth business.
I love it.
And today, 6.5 years later, we are the largest in India. We are 8th largest in the world.
Wow, really?
And we have over 800 dentists who work with us full time, over 1,600 employees that are working in the company. And I'm lucky to, be part of an organization that's amazing.
It's phenomenal. Now, it was interesting. When I was in India, you explained to me how many dentists a year are graduating from dental school.
Yeah, so India is, a big country, as you know, and we have about 30,000 graduates graduating every year from India, in dentistry in India. And so for us, we are hiring about, we open about 100, 120 clinics every year.
Wow.
So we hire about 350 dentists every year.
That's
so
amazing.
The number for us is only 1% of the graduates who come out. So it's a big country. And, there are about 1.3 billion people in India, which is about almost 4 times the population of the United States.
Just for the record, if you think driving in New York is bad, driving in India is way better, actually, to be truthful. So when you go from your very first clinic, how long after did you open the second?
Yeah, so the idea was when I opened the first clinic, from day one, the objective was to make sure that you build processes, you build templates, you build systems in such a way that you can expand quickly.
Okay.
So we opened our first clinic in August of 2011. And then a year later, in October of 2012, we opened 3 more.
Oh, wow.
And then we got a 12, then we got a 27, then we got a 60, then we got 104, then about 200, and now we're going to end this year with about, our financial year ends in March. We'll probably end with about 325 to 330 clinics.
That's amazing.
So that's been a pretty phenomenal growth.
That's
It's
awesome.
actually a compounded annual growth rate of about 140% year over year. So that's
from 1 million. Makes sense.
Yeah,
So, I mean, in my industry, in the martial arts industry, there's a couple school owners who have multiple locations. I was working for one of the best ones around, and it was the same concept. Developed a system that is duplicatable no matter where you're at, really no matter who's teaching it. It was I would say dummy-proof in a sense, but it was a phenomenal product and program. Essentially, that's the same scenario. You have a system that was in place that was able to be duplicatable in multiple locations. Now, as far as we talk about as an entrepreneur in any business, in any structure, would you feel as if that is a core value to grow at that type of rate, or at any rate for that matter?
Right, I totally agree. I think there is a combination of innovation and standardization.
I like that word, innovation.
And standardization.
Due to the fact that my school is named Innovate Martial
Arts. All right, of course. I didn't use that for that reason, but that's true. So I think
shameless plug.
The shameless plug. The combination of innovation and standardization, because you standardize certain processes that you figured out are working. So those you standardize, and by standardizing, you can actually allow for scale to happen. But at the same time, it's important that you continue to innovate.
Correct.
On your new processes, or make sure they make those micro changes, so you don't get just content with the same old process, because
Correct.
Things will change.
Always.
Business needs change, so that's why.
And even in the marketing industry, the way you market, you have. I was looking at some of your ads on the way here, like on Facebook and stuff, like taking charge, and it's it's very up to date marketing ads that always stay innovative. Plus, your actual offices are very clean. They all look very similar, so they have the same feel to them, but they always look up to date. It looks, again, innovative to what I remember as a kid going to a dentist's office, and it was like the ugly green chair, and it was the same basic thing. But your offices, one that I went to, was, spotless, and it was very modern, up to date. And I think it has a lot to do with innovation as well, is staying relevant to the time, but also in the practice mindset.
Yeah, I would say the more fundamental thing is that what is the business about? Any business, whether it's martial art or dentistry, in my case, and it's about customer satisfaction. In our case, it's patient satisfaction. In your case, probably is the students,
sure,
and their parents who are sponsoring them or paying the fees. So if you understand what the patients, in our case, customers needs, then and you cater your business around it, then you're likely to be successful. So in healthcare, having a clean, hygienic environment is a basic necessity of a patient walking in. And secondly, for dentistry, the patients are always nervous of going to a dentist. Most people are nervous going to a dentist. So if your environment also is intimidating or scary, then you're not really helping.
Correct.
So what we try to do is we have a cafe-like look and feel. So when you walk into a clinic, you feel like you're in a cafe. So you're not stressing out.
I didn't even think about it. That's 100% true. Going and being at one of them now, I can completely go back and visualize it and say I can 100% see the cafe setting. I'm not even thinking about it. But no, that makes
that was just sort of at a subconscious level to calm the patient's anxieties and so on and so forth. So I think, but if I were to Master Turner, what I would say is that the most important skill for becoming an entrepreneur, having moved from technology companies into healthcare, really I would say is number one, the desire to have to be curious. Curiosity is probably the most important thing. Curious about everything that's going on in your environment, at home, outside, at work, at school, at college, wherever you are, being curious about why certain things are working a certain way or why they're not working a certain way. Because that curiosity will lead to questions, which will then lead to answers. And my curiosity, this business started when I actually happened to be visiting India on vacation, when I was living in California on vacation. And we had to go see a dentist for personal reasons while we were there. And when I was spitting in the spittoon, where you rinse after you, the drain of that spittoon was dirty. And that curiosity of why is that drain dirty and why, a dentist who knows better allows that to happen. And I realized that the dentist was not running it as a business, was not really thinking about it as a business. So that's how my idea came about.
As the curiosity struck.
Yeah, and that's how I ended up, starting a dental chain. I mean, everybody sort of said, really? I mean, you're an engineer, you have no background in dentistry. And so oftentimes the point is that curiosity is a very important aspect, and that will lead to the desire to learn or the desire to change, which then leads to build a business, an opportunity, or being an entrepreneur. It doesn't really matter if you're running your own business or you're working in an environment. Irrespective, that curiosity element is very important.
I love that. I mean, I know you shared that story, and you also did a Josh talk, which was similar to, I would say, like a TED talk in a sense.
So fair enough.
And we're going to link that video here as well. It's phenomenal. I highly recommend everyone watching that as well. But going back to it, I mean, I love the fact that you talk about the curiosity. And this also has that unknown feeling, the curiosity where you're going into a field maybe that you're not 100% sure of, but you have all these other skill sets that you are trusting and are in your back pocket that you can use. And that curiosity of what can I become, that of course you could always fail, but then what if you hit it big and it could be the 8th largest chain in the world. So I mean, was that the goal to go into it saying we're going to open up 300 dentist office in the next 6 years?
Yeah, so our goal was to, if you want to build a business, or to build a scale business, and my background is building large businesses, so it was from day one the plan. But I think coming back to curiosity, what I would say is, I've learned a great number of things from the martial art business. So actually watching you and your various instructors in the school, I'll give you an example of that. One is that, one of your instructors, I think was it you or Susan Warner, one of them mentioned to me that a journey to a black belt for everybody is different.
Completely different.
Right? So some person might take 2 years to get to black belt, the other person might take 4 years to get to black belt. And just the person who takes 4 years does not mean that person is any less or sometimes, in fact, that person may end up becoming a master, senior master down the road. And that has actually we've changed that in corporate America or corporate, world. We often celebrate the guys who get successful very quickly. So we often celebrate the people who get to the so-called black belt quickly.
The turtle in the hair.
Yeah, exactly. And what we have realized after listening to that is I was sort of asking why that statement was made, not in context of martial arts, but I asked that. I was curious to understand what that meant, and I realized that actually it is to make sure that each of our dentists, as they join us before they become a clinic head, which would be a head of a unit, some of them will get there faster, some will take longer. And before we used to celebrate the ones who get faster, and now we actually let everybody, the journey to a clinic head is their own journey. So the journey to a black belt is their own. So we've taken some learnings from ATA or from Taekwondo, and simply because I was curious as to why you guys do what you do.
I love it.
First advice I would say was that perhaps people say money is everything, and that go after the money. And I think that's not what I would say. I would say go after your passion, go after your love, because money will follow.